Supercluster has been an odd one for me. I'm just now getting to it. It's not bad. Like, I don't think that it's bad. What I found, though, it does play kind of awkward. It's very situation dependent. But the awkwardness is okay when you're in the right situation. I do believe that it's worth a craft, but it's going to depend on where you want to go, why you want to go that way. And I have a clear recommendation on where you should go. It's more PvE centered than the Crucible. In PvE, it's all about finding what your case scenario is. So that's what this video is mostly going to be about. We got a Strand Slug here. Really good origin trait, Dragon's Vengeance. I love it. When an ally dies or you get into red health, the magazine refills, you gain bonus range, charge rate, and handling. And in the Crucible, that's just up all the time. You're going to get the range, you're going to get the handling, you're going to get the random magazine refills. In PvE, it's decent because of the mag. Perk-wise, these can be enhanced. Third column, Blood from Gold. Fourth time's a charm, loose change, threat detector, slice, slide shot, reconstruction. And in the final column, deconstruct, vorpal weapon, attrition orb, surrounded, hatchling, fragile focus, cascade point. First, the barrel mag, masterwork. Usually, you're going to go with the assault mag for speed. If not, might want to up the bag a little bit, depending on what perks you take. And in PvE, range does matter. Getting the most damage that you can, the safest distance away that you could be, while still landing your max damage. Or you can go handling here. But something like Hammer Forged, range masterwork, assault mag, it's great. Great by default, that's what I'm going with. It's safe, and it does what you need it to do. I want to focus on some combinations. The first is going to be Reconstruction, Cascade Point. Now, Reconstruction, you're not going to have to reload as much, if at all. And Cascade is just good for pure burst damage. Get in and get out. And this roll works because that's exactly what you're doing. You're not going to need to reload. When it's time, you're going to get in there and you're going to get out. So something like stunning a champion. Nothing wrong with this application. Land some crits with your other weapon, proc cascade point, get in there, lay into him, cascade with assault mag, get out. Not the best, not the worst, but it definitely is not bad. This has some use. And that's just going to be in any scenario. Just that fast burst damage. Could be a beefy yellow bar, orange bar. Maybe they're rushing you. The slugs hit hard, so it's going to stun them in place a lot of the time. But just get in and out. And note here, yeah, assault mag, cascade point, it helps. That fire rate gets up there, but not very many shots are going to be coming out as cascade just because of its base RPM. But you do get 2 to 3 good ones in. Next combination is the safest option, and there's nothing wrong with it, and that involves Vorpal. 50% more damage against bosses, vehicles, just that flat damage buff. And I do prefer Reconstruction again in the third. That's over 4 times a charm, things like that. Because again, I just want to have the damage when I need it, get some shots in and get out. I don't want to have to worry about reloading or landing consecutive hits to get 4th time. That's not what I'm about with this thing, but that's going to be up to you. But now I do want to get into another aspect about this slug that makes it more viable than it really should be. It's a Strand Slug. If you're on a Strand subclass, if you get the kit going, you're doing more than 50% overall because you can apply Unravel. That's hitting your main target, spreading Unraveling rounds around, and even further, the artifact this season, we have Unraveling Orbs. Picking up an Orb of Power grants Strand weapons Unravel rounds. So you don't have to be on a Strand sub. You can be on solo or whatever you want, but that's all adding on top. Just solid, safe, damage is always going to be there. And in this season, you could add in Radiant, you can add in Unravel regardless. That gives it a little edge. That's good. And the third main role I want to talk about is All In. And it gets a little bit more interesting, and that's going to involve Surrounded. We have Enhanced Surrounded here, so 47% more damage. And this 47, just like all the others, is a little bit more because you're adding Unravel. You can add in Radiant if you want. But this route being All In, same type of deal. You're getting in as much quick damage as you can, and you're getting out. And on the flip side, just like Cascade Point, you need the perk trigger. So 3 enemies have to be close. That way you can get that damage. Enhanced allows it to linger for 1.5 seconds longer, so that's a good thing too. But as far as that third column perk, hear me out. Reconstruction, fine. Threat detector, it works. If you're proccing Surrounded, you're proccing Threat Detector, and triple 100s for stability, reload, handling, that's fine, that's good. 4 times a charm, that can work, but I would really consider, and I urge you to consider Slice here, because Slice makes the most sense to me. A lot of sense. If you're going into harm's way for your Surrounded damage, that means there's 3 or more enemies. You're dealing 47% more. Use your class ability first. Apply Sever to that main target. So that target's going to deal 40% less damage. You're doing 47% more with your slug. That way you can take some hits while you're trying to get that damage off. And to take it further than that, since it's Strand, all of this kit's working. If you're on Strand, you're adding in Woven Mail on top. So they're going to deal less damage. You're going to take less damage, and you're dealing 47% more. Sure, there's Hatchling, other things here and there, but for me, what I've played with, it comes down to those 3 applications. The first one, Fast Burst with Cascade. Orange bar, yellow bar, boss, champion, whatever. But the thing is, you have to get Cascade going first, so it performs kind of awkward. It's kind of clunky. Precision hits with other weapons, then you get close, Cascade in, get out, a little bit of setup. The second one is just the safe one with Vorpal. You're adding in a little bit more damage with Unravel. Even more if you have a solar weapon, use the artifact to get Radiant. But the third, that all-in one, I prefer it. Slice Surrounded. You can also add in DR on your end, but they're dealing less, you're dealing more. Just like the other ones, You can have Unravel, be Radiant. But aside from Vorpal, just the safest one. Again, it's kind of awkward to play because they all involve scenarios. But that last one, you know what you're getting yourself into. Slice Surrounded. And the thing about being all in is it's just that. It's all or nothing, because if you can't get Surrounded going, it's just a regular shotgun at that point, a regular slug. But even with that, I do believe that Sever Surrounded is the best role for this thing. It's unique, the only one with it. And when the situation is right, it shines. That's where I would go. For the Crucible, the only thing I found that it really has going for it is the sight. It's clean, but overall, I can't recommend it there. Sure, you go Threat Fragile Focus, you can go Slide, couple different things. But the only way I would recommend this thing is if you're a little bit newer to the game, because we have Gnora's Axe. It's Iron Banner. It's around 27 days of the month. Threat Opening Shot. Opening Shot's always been really broken on anything, especially on a slug. So this one, 100 range, 100 handling, easy with Threat Detector. There's also Inquisitor. There's Chaperone, all the things. I'd hold off for the Crucible. The true play is in PvE. So closing with a scorecard overview, for PvE, overall I give it a 3.5, a little bit above midline. And it can even be 4 if you do the right things with it. Crucible, a 2. It's not worthless, but it's definitely outclassed. The fun factor, I give it a 4. I like using it. I enjoy it. Especially when it all goes right. The Unravel, the Radiant Surrounded, Slice first. It's a fun weapon to play with. The build flexibility, I have it 4. And once the artifact goes away, which it seems like it never will, your flexibility shifts a little bit. But with that being said, like something like Sever Surrounded, that won't. That's always going to be a 5. You can use it anywhere, any character. The must-have score, I do have midline, because I'm not going to say it's not worth crafting. At the very beginning, I said it is worth it. And what is worth it to me is what I recommended with Sever Surrounded, especially with Woven Mail. That's where the worth is. That particular role, I'd actually rank a little bit higher. But I don't think that it's bad at all. I really like it with how I have it set up, how I'm using it. There's a lot of danger getting in those spaces and harder content, and this role helps a lot. And not to mention any type of divinity situation or a boss that you can just lay into them. That Surrounded role is really good. One thing in the back of my mind, the best thing for it is that it's Strand. There's only a couple other ones. Lightweight, Swordbreaker, the thing's a beast. It has Cursed Thrall. Also has Surrounded, it has Sword Logic. Then we have the Rapid Fire until its return that can have Enhanced Surrounded. It also has Cascade Point, things like Overflow. But this thing being a slug with the enhanced perks, crafting it how you want it with the Salt Mag, it's going to perform. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Supercluster down below. I've heard great things about it. I've heard horrible things about it. I've heard people say, oh, no, it's not worth it. Some say they're having fun, whether it be Cascade, Vorpal. But I tried a lot of the roles. There were some roles that I didn't include in the video. I just did the top 3. And if people are saying that this is a bad weapon, I would argue that like that Slice Surrounded role isn't as bad as people would make you believe. The only thing left to do is to try it out for yourself. Let's talk about it down below. Thank you for watching. And until the next one, I am CoolGuy.